Hello, folks. This is your corruption update weekend. Yeah, boy. Listen, I'm going to slam both sides of the aisle here. So if you happen to like Trump, listen to this part. If you happen to hate Trump and think he's the Antichrist, listen to the second part. And so you can find something to hate on both sides. That should drive my numbers up, right? Because that's all it's about today these days. You either have to be a pro MAGA, CAGA, whatever, or you have to be a pro Democrat, whether it be Warren or someone else. And we'll get into that maybe a little bit. I think I'll save that one for another day. The whole Hitler and Tulsi thing. All right, so let's start with Hunter and the latest report out on him. There apparently the number is not $50,000 a month. It's $83,333 per month after being hired in 2014 by Burisma Holdings. And oh, by the way, it appears from the information that's come out that he never actually set foot in the Ukraine. So in other words, he never actually attended a board meeting and did the things that people usually do. And in fact, this report that is out says that he was a non-executive ceremonial figure with a powerful name. In other words, Burisma paid $83,000 a month to this individual for the fact that he happened to be named Biden. But there's more to this, and it gets complicated because the company paid $3.5 million approximately to a place called Rosemont Seneca Bohai LLC. This was a company headed by Hunter Biden's business partner, Devon Archer. Devon Archer, if you remember, is the other person in the photograph who was also a board member of Burisma as well. Now, Devon Archer is an interesting individual. He was implicated in a case that involved defrauding a Native American tribe and multiple pension funds. He was convicted, and then the conviction was thrown out. And so that conviction, by the way, was thrown out in November 2018. So technically, he is not a convicted criminal, but he was convicted of criminal fraud. So the real question here is what really is going on here? There is a complicated web of LLCs that are connected to Devon and Hunter by association. And this is a fairly common thing to do, but hiding the sausage is part of what people do in this sort of situation when they don't want to be able to have traced exactly what happened. The only reason all this stuff showed up was that financial records were introduced during Archer's trial. So as a result, there is a public record of this stuff having gone out there into the into the public eye, where you really can't do anything about the fact that it's there. So there's a real question here, and the question is much more serious than it first appears. It's not simply Hunter Biden. It is, what is it that Burisma was paying approximately $170,000 a month for? What were they buying? Because it wasn't just Hunter who was being paid. It was also Devon Archer. What was Devon Archer doing for Burisma? And by the way, putting Americans on corporate boards, putting people on corporate boards in general who do very little or nothing is not really all that uncommon. But paying them almost $80,000 plus a month to do nothing and never travel to the country in question, never sit in actual board meetings, to as the report would be said, a ceremonial figure. It's one thing to take a board position for a fairly nominal amount of money. Let's face it, if you happen to be a self-made millionaire and you get named to a board and someplace hands you a $5,000 a month check, basically to have your name on the board, and you participate in a conference call once every couple of months or whatever, that still raises a few eyebrows, but it's not really all that uncommon, even among American companies. But we're not talking about relatively small ball dollars to people that that otherwise are wildly successful individuals with a lot of money, and essentially you're paying somebody $5,000 a month because you want to interrupt their golf game every now and then, which is what they'd otherwise be doing. No, this is something entirely different, and we really ought to get to the bottom of this, but nobody really wants to touch it. And the reason is, if you start unwinding all the crap that went on over in Ukraine, you got to start asking yourself, how about all the donations, the so-called donations to Clinton and her little slush fund during that time that it was being run? And oh, by the way, whatever happened to that slush fund? Why is it that all the money that was being raised and all the donations, all these wonderful people are just philanthropists? By God, they have no ulterior motive at all, no terrible motives, no ideas that they're going to actually get something, a quid pro quo in return. They're not bribing American political leaders. No, this is all in the up and up. Everything is fine. Yeah, okay. Then tell me why all the money dried up as soon as Hillary lost. Yeah, folks, nobody wants to touch this, but it really needs to be run to the ground, and this crap needs to stop. Again, we are, as I was saying in previous podcast, this is really about people believing and enforcing the idea that they're royalty. That essentially they have the right to make money, not because they do things, not because they're good at something. I mean, let's face it. What is Hunter Biden's primary credential? That he likes to use cocaine. At least that's what the evidence seems to suggest. Now, is that, is that documented fact today? Well, who knows? Hey, listen, the guy got married to a chick that he knew for 6 days. So far, I guess that's working out okay for him. Hunter, where'd you get all your money from? Explain to me why you should get, more than, close to $1 million a year, just for a ceremony. All right. I mean, what is it that makes you, such a thing? Now, look, if you're, and we're going to shift this the other way because now we're on Trump's side. So for those of you that, are on your Trumpers, turn it off. If you're on the other side, well, then this is where you want to come in and listen to it. You can at least give Donald Trump credit for one thing, and that is that he was an actual TV celebrity. Well, guess what? People that are celebrities get paid sometimes to put their name on things. Big shock, right? LeBron James, hello. How about Michael Jordan, Air Jordans, Nike shoes? How much money has he made simply by virtue of the fact that the guy could dunk a basketball? Okay, and after he got done dunking basketballs, he still kept getting paid, and he still gets paid, and is there anything particularly wrong with that? No, not really, because there's no quid pro quo. There's nothing you can give back. But one of the things that becomes very, very interesting, and where this gets into corruption, folks, is when there is something that can be given back. And now we're going to get into another area of corruption. And this is something that came up and actually got some CNBS coverage, and that is the curious timing of futures exchange trading and whether it constitutes insider trading. Vanity Fair has an article up about this that they're calling Trump chaos trades. Essentially, anyone that has any brains at all has noticed that the market moves by enormous amounts whenever Trump tweets something. And the question that has been raised is that there has been a lot of trading in front of those announcements, and they have been shockingly accurate. Well, CNBS had a former SEC guy on that basically said, look, the insider trading laws don't cover this because you would have to have specific material, inside information on a security. Okay, I need to look at that, the code on the U.S. code on that a little bit, but I suspect he may be right in that the general idea that something is going to happen and would impact the entire market may not fall, strictly speaking, under insider trading laws. Yeah, boy, we don't have much of a loophole there, do we? Then you have, of course, if we want to go back, you look at Hillary Clinton's cattle futures trades, which are, from a statistical analysis standpoint, couldn't have happened other than by screwing other people. But this goes back to the screwing part, because there will be people that will say, well, okay, they made money. Maybe they knew what Trump was going to tweet. Maybe that's not, technically a violation of the law. But who got hurt? Well, folks, here's the problem. In the futures market, there's a winner every time. There's also a loser every time. And somebody did get hurt. Somebody did lose. This is not the same situation that you have with a stock in an individual company, where the worst case scenario often, not always, but often, is that the person who had an opportunity cost lost it. Okay, in other words, I sell you my IBM shares, my 100 shares of IBM. You buy it because you have inside information that the company is going to do absolutely wonderful things. The company does those wonderful things, and had I not sold you the shares, I would have had more money. I still have the money from the day before the wonderful thing happened. However, what I've lost is an opportunity. Now, there are cases where the injury is direct. For example, if you short something knowing that something awful is going to happen that's not out in the public, and in that case, people get injured. But of course, the injury is more due to the fact that they don't have the knowledge and you do. The problem with the futures market is that there is none of this sort of speculative side of things. There's every point in the S&P 500 futures is good for $50. There is someone who is short every contract that is long. And therefore, for every $50 that you make in that market, somebody loses $50. The person who probably loses that $50 in these cases is you. It's you because it is pension funds, it is other investment firms that are hedging off exposures, and they get hurt in real money terms when these people who are supposedly speculating make these good trades. Now, maybe this is just dumb luck, okay? Maybe. But quite frankly, the pattern suggests not. Isn't it funny how the pattern always seems to kind of go the same way? All right. Here's the thing about statistical analysis, folks. If you have something that is just dumb luck, then the good outcomes are approximately equal to the bad ones because coin flips just work that way. All right. That doesn't mean that there isn't at one time or another, hey, a good thing here, a good thing there, whatever have you. I mean, that's just not the case. There's always the situation that can arise where you have a run of luck, a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, some number. But the odds of these things happening all the time basically never occurs. All right, basically never occurs. Now, what Vanity Fair has documented is a very interesting pattern. If you remember, a number of years ago, I did a video that got the CME very angry at me and ultimately led to a spoofing trial and arrest. The FBI and the government actually finally went after this guy sometime later. By the way, he sent me a threat by email after I read my little expose. He was very unhappy that he'd been caught. But the only reason I was able to catch him, I was literally watching a movie over the holiday weekend, and the traffic in the futures market was so thin that I was able to see the spoofing bids and offers go and come. Normally, there's enough traffic in the market you can't see that, but in this particular case, even with me just being an ordinary retail guy sitting on my couch, I could see it and did a YouTube video and called out that the CME got all bent out of shape. Well, they're not really all that happy about this expose, I'm sure, either. But the thing is, what we've got here, folks, is fairly clear that there is a pattern of people that are getting this information and they're trading on it. And it may not be illegal. But you got to wonder, this is the culture of corruption, folks, in Washington, D.C. You can be on one side of the aisle or the other, but nobody on either side of the aisle is ready to go get their pitchforks and their torches and show up in D.C. and demand that this crap stop. And yet you should be. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I don't care if you hate Trump or you love Trump. I don't care if you love Elizabeth Warren. I don't care if you love Bernie Sanders. I don't care which one of these guys. I don't even care if you love Hillary Clinton, a snake that she is. But you have to understand something. The people on both sides of the aisle that are pulling this crap, the person that's getting screwed as a consequence of it is you. It's not, it's not abstract, folks. It's you. You look at the $3 trillion a year that gets ripped off from Americans in the health industry because they won't prosecute 100-plus-year-old laws that criminalize the behavior that virtually everybody in that industry is engaged in right here and now. Yeah, there's a few exceptions. There are people and organizations that aren't doing it, but virtually everybody is. And then you got this kind of stuff going on, right? You got a son of a senator and then a vice president is making $80,000 a month for his name. He's not providing any services. Listen, the polite implication is that he's just being paid because his last name's Biden. The impolite one is that somehow there's a back channel and influence peddling going on. And then you have the real ones that you can't ignore, which is somebody's making millions and millions of dollars. Lots of them trading futures, apparently with inside knowledge because they are right far too much of the time. The statistical probability of those trades being completely random approaches 0. So, folks, I don't care if you're on the left or the right. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. How come all the people in this country, all of them, on both sides of the aisle, can't pick up their pitchfork and their torch and show up in D.C.? I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. You want to wear a red suit or a blue suit, doesn't make a damn bit of difference to me. Concentrate on the National Mall, show up there, refuse to leave until all this crap on both sides of the aisle stops. Because you, America, are the ones paying for it. I'm your ticker guy, and that's my view.